And now everyone doesn't want to talk about how good they are, how well they've been playing. They've been talking about how and when the shoe is going to drop on this Eagles team. And guess what?
Marc Farzetta had a big night last night, obviously hosting the Bonley Hockey pregame show, but he looks wide awake. Clarence woke me up this morning. Mark, I'm not even going to entertain him on the Bird app because I can do that right here on Good Morning NFC East. So, did you see the tweet, Mark?
I did not see the tweet. What are you talking about here?
Oh man. So I got to pull this up here because I'm a bitter person, and I decided to blast him on the air. The Eagles are still undefeated, Clarence Hill tweeted at 6:41 a.m. But they are no juggernaut. They are living on borrowed time. They are not the best team in the NFL, despite their record. The NFC is wide open. That's a fact. Argue with your mama. By the way, Clarence Hill Jr., as we all know, covers the Dallas Cowboys, the most underachieving team in the NFL the past 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for the guy because, he wouldn't know a winner if it jumped up and bit him in the ass based on what he's been exposed to in Dallas. So I kind of like more so what RG3 had to say after the game, which was, that Jalen Hurts is the MVP. And don't at me. And first off, I don't argue with my mother because I respect my mother, Clarence Hill, and I will never argue with Eleanor Farzetta because she is a saint on top of that. But this Eagles team, look, I think everyone knows the schedule they're playing. But last I checked, no team has their own flex schedule where they could say, hey, you know what? Instead of playing the Texans, we're going to play the Bills on Thursday night. Like, that doesn't happen. You can only play the team in front of you. Let's use that cliche because it's true. And when the Eagles play that team in front of them, they beat that team in front of them. When the Eagles face adversity, they respond to adversity. I was joking about this on the pregame last night with Seth Joyner when he mentioned the fact that the Eagles are still undefeated. You look at the idea right now that this Eagles team, we were almost looking forward to them experiencing adversity. That's why when they went down 14-0 to the Jaguars, we're all like, oh, good. Let's see how they bounce back. And sure enough, they bounced back. And now everyone doesn't want to talk about how good they are, how well they've been playing. They've been talking about how and when the shoe is going to drop on this Eagles team. And guess what? Now like three weeks of people really talking about being undefeated. Shoe still hasn't fell. Shoe still hasn't dropped. This team's still playing well and then responding to adversity. You're tied 14-14 against the Texans, and you come out and you handle your business in the second half, make sure you win this football game. They're doing what they can. They're doing all that's being asked of them, which is just win, baby.
Now I know what it feels like to be a Buffalo Bills fan and a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Essentially, if you're an Eagles fan, you know what it feels like. You're waiting for them to screw up. And the only time they seem to screw up is when they play each other. Cincinnati notwithstanding in the AFC Championship. Remember, by the way, can you imagine being a Chiefs fan right now and hearing the logic they have to hear? Patrick Mahomes isn't good, or he's not as good as you make him out to be. And Jeff Kerr just puts out a stat every single day that makes Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback in the world. And even Bills fans agree with it. And you still got his haters. Like, Jalen Hurts, you still got his haters. You still got people saying, he can't do this, he can't do this. I'm waiting for, Jalen Hurts just doesn't throw the ball enough, or Jalen Hurts doesn't tie his shoe fast enough, or, Jalen Hurts is from Houston, he's an Astros fan, so we shouldn't like him. Every single thing right now, the Eagles are winning, they're playing well, and their quarterback just can't make a mistake. And I think it just drives people insane nationally. And I think nationally a lot of people do like Jalen Hurts. I've talked to people that love him, but you got his haters. They are waiting in that hornet's nest, just waiting for the nest to be kicked. And the Eagles, they are just politely bypassing it.
Yeah, I'm just quite frankly blown away by what I've seen from Jalen Hurts so far this season. You look at guys that have gone into off seasons, and we all know when people have things to work on, and we want to see them come back the following year and have worked on those things and see the proof in the pudding. And Jalen Hurts is a walking, talking example of that. And you know what I loved last night? I love that for the first time since this great season's been going on, Jalen Hurts was actually in a state of reflectiveness. He was looking back on how great it is to be 8-0, sure, but not just that, how great it was to win that game and play the way he did. I know he had, 2 fumbles, lost the one when it mattered, and then one towards the end of the game. But the way he played that game last night, you could tell that he was just very pleased with not only himself, but the team, not only for being 8-0, but for going to his hometown, playing in front of his family and friends, playing the way they did, and improving for the first time ever in Eagles history to 8-0. I like the idea that he was basking it for a second. The fact that they have like another mini bye week essentially through this time, it allows you to sit back, reflect for a second before you move on to play the Commanders again. But I like everything I've seen from him. And last night, I was blown away by his poise. When it just came to how he was in the pocket for the most part, his accuracy, dropping back, letting go of the football, hitting Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field, hitting Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown on slant routes, how accurate he was with that. Seeing him just kind of be very poised in the pocket, knowing when to escape, I thought he just looked cool and steady throughout that game. And it was very impressive. Even through the adversity, even after a sack or two or a fumble, he gathered himself and he got back to it. And after that fumble, the defense gave the ball right back to him. So I just thought that this team, especially on that 18-play drive to open things up for themselves offensively, I thought Jalen Hurts looked calm, cool, and collected throughout the game.
I set the tone at the beginning of the game. I thought he was a little antsy playing in Houston, playing in front of friends and family. And he missed Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert was wide open. He missed him. Mm-hmm. He ended up making up for that. But I think it was Quez Watkins. I'm trying to remember because this is around time I'm watching both games because I think it was right when Schwarber hit the home run. I think he missed Quez Watkins early. I'm like, wow, this is very uncharacteristic of Jalen Hurts. Like, but I get it. It's a short week. It's Houston. I'm like, I wasn't too concerned about. But you're right. The poise, the calmness of him. Like, but I'm glad too he had a chance to reflect because let's think about this for a second. The Eagles have been around for 90 years. They never started 8-0. Never. Not the 04 team, not the 02 team, not the 17 team, not the 80 team, not the 60 team, not the 48, 49 teams. This Eagles team started 8-0. And it is an impressive accomplishment. And, the last time the Eagles had a chance to start 8-0, Farsi, you and I remember that day very well. Deuce Staley and, Deuce Staley and, Dredis ran through their defense and Donovan Aventillo had that little spat on the sidelines and they lost 27-3. And I'm like, okay, how good is this team? Like, I know they're really good. They're probably going to the Super Bowl, but can they beat Pittsburgh? Can they beat New England? I don't know what they're with this team. They're last unbeaten outside of maybe Buffalo and Kansas City. And again, the Eagles don't play them. That 04 team did play Pittsburgh. I think the Eagles can beat them now. I still think there are better teams than the Eagles. Buffalo is one, but the Eagles can beat them. That's the thing. I know they can beat them. But can they actually do it? Is the question.
Well, you know what? First off, I'd love to find out in a Super Bowl. But so here's the thing. You look around the rest of the league. When your team is playing well, regardless of 8-0, or they're just having a good start to the season, whatever they might be, you always look around the league. And anytime you see a team, like the Buffalo Bills, like the old cliche rings true with the Buffalo Bills. It's like, when you ask somebody what's the key to the game, score more points than the other team, It actually applies more so than anybody to the Buffalo Bills because the Buffalo Bills score the second most points in the NFL and allow the fewest points in the NFL. So their offense is stacked, their defense is stacked, and they find ways to win games even when there's some turmoil. So they didn't play that great against the Packers, but they still Josh Allen had himself a good game. He had a little flick of the wrist pass there for a touchdown to Stephon Diggs, which was great. They're a stout football team. It goes without saying. But when you're 8-0, even if you haven't played anybody like the Eagles, and people want to talk about the cake schedule, and they're right to a degree, the bottom line is you've won. If you have been down, you came back and won. If you had an untimely turnover, you erased it with good defense, and you came back and won. When you faced adversity in Arizona on the road, you found a way to win the game. You didn't play great in that game, but you found a way to win. Good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. And this Eagles team, time and time again, finds a way to win. Now, look, it's the NFL. Everyone's getting paid. There's opportunities last night where the Texans, maybe with Pierce, runs over a couple of more guys. Next thing you know, it's a lot closer in that fourth quarter. Maybe you don't get the sack from Javon Hargrave. Maybe you don't have an interception late from James Bradbury. Maybe some things don't bounce your way as this game goes on, and you got to make sure you're fighting hard as the game's ending to make sure you solidify the win. The Eagles, when you're 8-0, when you keep winning, I don't care who the opponent is, you're finding ways to win. Is it more impressive it's the Bills? Sure. But the bottom line is you're finding ways to win these games. And as that continues, it lets me know that, all right, no matter what happens, the Eagles are going to be in it. You talked about Patrick Mahomes. We can mention Josh Allen. Those teams feel like they're always in it because of their quarterback. I feel like that because we have Jalen Hurts.
Exactly. The Eagles are winning because of Jalen Hurts. Like, this is a great football team, but you're starting to see every single week it's, quarterback, can Jalen Hurts beat Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in a shootout? Guess what? I think he can because he keeps proving it every single week. And he doesn't have to, but Jalen Hurts is a really good football player. And it's like you said, Farzi, Robert Griffin III sweep. He's the MVP. Don't at me. Right now, he is. If I had to pick against him, like say, okay, you have to pick an MVP, but it's not Jalen Hurts. Okay, it's Josh Allen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes is up there. Like, but that's how good Jalen Hurts has been this year. This is what I love. People who said, "Oh, well, he needs his legs to thrive." Well, he hasn't used his legs in weeks. Mm-hmm. His legs have been empty at the gas station, and he decided not to refill them because he's got an arm. So, I mean, I just keep looking at him as every single week he just finds a new way to beat you. And this was a week where he had to go outside the pocket a bit. He hasn't been doing that much because he hasn't had to. But what was the one play? I think it was it 2nd and 6 or 3rd and 6 where it looked like he was going to get sacked, and you could tell he wanted to throw the ball downfield. He didn't. And he kind of escaped pressure and he ran for the first down anyway. That was on the drive, I think, where they made it 29-17. And then he had that wild throw to Goddard like 2 plays later when he was rolling outside the pocket. He looked so effortless in doing it. It took the big hit. And I'm just like, this guy's got it, man. He's got everything you want out of a franchise quarterback. It's not, is Jalen Hurts a franchise quarterback? How much is Jalen Hurts going to get paid?
Yeah, I mean, I thought at the beginning of the year, I was like, well, he won't see the $40 million a year type of deal, but he might see the $40 million. Like, the Eagles are going to do that thing that they've done throughout history, whether it was Joe Banner or it's Howie Roseman, whoever it might be, where they dangle that little carrot in front of you and they go, all right, am I going to jump on this now or am I going to wait a minute and bet on myself? I think Jalen Hurts jumps on it, but I think the Eagles will give him an offer. I don't want to, look, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but they're going to give him a low ball offer because they're going to try to save some money, right, for the back end of the contract, especially. But even if it's not, even if it is an exorbitant amount, Howie Roseman in the cap, it doesn't really exist in the NovaCare complex. Like, there is no cap. Like, Howie Roseman waves a magic wand, he gives a big fat check to somebody, and then alleviates cap pressure, for somebody else. Like, that's the way Howie Roseman runs things. But I think he is going to get paid. I think he's going to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. And I think he might even turn down the initial offer from the Eagles and just bet on himself and continue to play great football as the season goes on. But let me, if I may, and please, I know I'm the guest, but I have to ask this question to just make sure I'm not crazy. The way the Eagles ran out the clock, first off, I understand that quarterback sneak is great, and it seems to always work with the Eagles, and Jason Kelce loves it, and it's got the highest percentage chance of winning. He is our franchise quarterback. Here's what I've decided already. Jalen Hurts is the franchise quarterback. I'm not looking at the draft class coming in at quarterbacks. I'm not looking at who's going to be available in the offseason at quarterback. I'm not looking to make trades. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for the foreseeable future for the Philadelphia Eagles. He is the franchise guy. Can we limit the amount of times we have him go head first into the defensive line? I know it works, but like last night at the end of the game, I don't need, and I think the first one was a mistake, I don't need Jalen Hurts in that situation going head first when you already have the game pretty much won, going head first to that defensive line time and time again. I'm not one to be terrified of injuries, but damn, when you talk about concussions, damn, when you talk about, just guys getting hurt in general, I don't want to put his head in that much peril time and time again. Am I crazy to just have that thought pass through my mind? Or if it's working, stick with it?
From 2000 to 2005, I always worried about that with Donovan McNabb. So I'm like,
okay.
No, don't take off. I'm like, no. And I knew that was his biggest strength. I'm like, Donovan, just stop. Don't do this to yourself. And Andy Reid didn't care. He didn't care. And then he breaks his leg on like the weirdest of plays on the Vet Stadium turf on that fateful day in 2002. But besides the point. But yeah, you're right. I don't want to see Jalen Hurts suffer a concussion. I don't want to see Jalen Hurts have to miss time. And again, I think the Eagles can win a game or two with Gardner Minshew because they did do that last year, but right. I don't want to experience that. This is this is your, and I'm sure Bills fans could do the same thing with Josh Allen. It's like, dude, do you have to run? Do you really have to do this to yourself?
Yeah.
I know you're a big guy. I know
it's not even the running part. Like I get, like he's a smart player. He's a great athlete. I think Jalen Hurts does a great job at determining when to run. Like I don't think he's a guy that drops back and just goes, I'm just going to go and goes. Sometimes it happens and it works to the benefit of the team. But I think he's smart enough and determines when he should run. I'm talking about the play calls where we're constantly doing, like the end of the game is what got me. The goal line situation,
the 4th-and-1 situation, right?
Yeah. The goal line situations, I get because there's literally 6 points or 7 points right there for the waiting, for the taking. But at the end of the game, there was 2 QB sneaks when you're up 27-7 or 29-17, and I'm like, you got this game. We don't need to put him at risk. Like he's a franchise guy. I want to make sure he's protected as much as possible as the season goes on.
I'm just going to go by a former defensive lineman's mentality. Hard to believe I used to be a defensive lineman, but
wow.
Right. Yeah, I was a little bit bigger back in the day. I was a speedy defensive lineman.
I'm going to need pre and post. I'm going to need pre and post pics of that.
Oh, trust me, it's funny. So this is back again. Same situation, right? It's like a 3rd-and-1, 4th-and-1. Well, they forgot to sub me out, so I'm like, because I was in on those types of plays. I'm like, oh wait. It's probably gonna be a quarterback sneak. I get my chance to hit him. I get a really good free chance to hit him. I took advantage of it pretty good. I mean, the quarterback still got the first down. I got the shot in, and I'm sure NFL defensive players are like Jerry Hughes and guys like that. They're like, "Ooh, I get the chance to get Jalen Hurts because he's gonna sneak it." There's no way they're running the ball. They're not giving it to Miles Sanders. They're not gonna put it at risk. They're gonna put their big quarterback in there, and yeah, you're gonna get a shot in. And they're gonna feel it. And I mean, Hurts is a big dude. I'm sure he takes care of himself. But yeah, it's like, do we have? I get it. But do you have to do it every single time? Like, you have the best offensive line in football. You mean to tell me you can't go old school, go fullback, make up a fullback? I don't know.
They did bounce it out once with him. I noticed they lined up in the quarterback sneak. You thought you were going to sneak it, and they actually bounced it to the outside in one of the plays for Jalen Hurts. And I'm like, yes, that's good. Do more of that.
Yeah. We're nitpicky, by the way. The Eagles are 8-0, and we're Clarence Hilling this team. Like, it's Jalen Hurts trying the ball too much. The run defense is bad. It's okay. Like, we gotta calm down here. It was a short week, but I'll tell you what, Mark. I keep looking at this team, and I know I've been talking about this on the show plenty of times. When the heck are they gonna lose?
Well, I know the last time we talked about that Tennessee Titans game and Derrick Henry coming in here, and you see Damian. Yeah, Damian Pierce did pretty much what he wanted to, and granted, it was the first game without Jordan Davis there, but you still have a pretty stout defensive line even without Jordan Davis. This run defense does scare me, and you're going to have Jonathan Gannon play well out of his comfort zone before he plays that Tennessee Titans game, because he's going to have to get on the line of scrimmage and he's going to have to be aggressive, not blitzing, but he's going to have to stack the box. You're going to have your corners probably playing back a little bit there, but Jonathan Gannon is not going to be comfortable in that game. And that's where even more of the impact, I think, of Vic Fangio is going to come in here with being more aggressive around the line of scrimmage. And again, I know when people hear aggressive, they hear blitzing. I'm not talking about that because Derrick Henry can run right through that blitz like it's nothing. But you're going to have to see Jonathan Gannon in this run defense play tough, play fast, play aggressive, play smart, stay in their lane. And that is a game that I look at on the schedule as the most likely that the Eagles lose. Not that they will, but the most likely. If you're looking at the most threatening game on this schedule to this point, that's going to be the game against the Titans. And I know everyone's talking about it now. Now it's like Tony Gonzalez on the postgame show last night asked the question to Jason Kelce and to Jalen Hurts. So when are you guys going to lose? How do you block that conversation out? Well, first off, if you want me to block it out, stop asking me. And second, never? Like, what am I supposed to say to that?
Yeah.
Never. No, but they talk about the focus. They talk about the concentration. And it was difficult to hear because Jason Kelce's trying to give an honest answer. And all you hear in the background is the crowd chanting, Dallas sucks, which is just phenomenal. But I know they're going to get asked that question a lot. I think this team has leadership, has coaching, and has talent above all else to keep this going for quite a long time. The Titans game is going to be a threat. The Giants game is going to be a threat. The next Dallas game is going to be a threat. But overall, this team, I think, has it in them to just keep the winning coming.
I got to interview Devonta Smith Tuesday, right? I'm sure he's gonna make a joke with me right before the interview because I don't know if you saw my post. I tweeted about I shared his Instagram story. He doesn't give a crap about your fantasy team, by the way. And like people were just slamming him left and right. I didn't mean I was defending him. I said, preach, man. I don't care. But why do people seem to care if Devonta Smith isn't balling? Like, who cares?
You mentioned it. You mentioned it. Your fantasy team. You mentioned it. Yeah, you got it. That's why people care. It's stupid. It's absolutely. You know what? Devonta Smith is a great example for why this team could possibly be undefeated. Remember that block he threw? Was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was the week before. Yeah, I think it was the Dallas game. He threw that block. They get into the end zone, and he throws like the biggest fist pump, yes, hell yeah, type of thing. The Jags game. Thank you.
Yeah.
You see that game go out there, and you see him go out there and throw that block. That's something that usually gets under the radar. He was so excited as a first-round Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver to throw a block. That shows you how selfless this team is. Oh, did we get the 7 points? Did we get the 6 points? That's all I need. And time again, I think this kid, Devonta Smith, is just going to be there for whatever the team needs. Because here's you go. He can throw that block. He can run that play. He can do it. He can love it. And then he can also put up numbers for you. He can take a 5-10-yard slant route, take it 60 yards. Like, he's got that talent too. And I don't think he's being ignored. I think there's another guy that happens to be open faster, and that's A.J. Brown. But that doesn't mean Devonta Smith, and I think everybody knows this. Devonta Smith is not all of a sudden not talented. Devonta Smith's doing what he's asked to win. And when you're 8-0, it's hard to argue against that. So I think it's only the people that are looking at their fantasy numbers going, what the hell, Devonta Smith? And they're not looking at it for the team aspect of this, of this Philadelphia Eagles team that is so valuable.
Yeah, I have Devonta Smith in my fantasy teams. I don't even care. It's like, I didn't even realize he only had 2 catches for 22 yards last night because he caught both targets that were, I'm never like during the game, oh, where's Devonta Smith? Why doesn't Devonta Smith exist? I know he exists. I know he's making plays. He's open like all the time. It's just, the ball doesn't go to him because you got Dallas Goedert. Right. You got A.J. Brown. Like, you got embarrassment of riches. But here's a perfect example, right, Farzy? So, Quez Watkins had 80 receiving yards going into the night. I bet Eagles fans didn't know that. He only had 80 receiving yards.
That's insane. That's absolutely bonkers.
That's your 4th wide receiver. Zach Pascal had 1 catch for 3 yards last night. He's your 3rd receiver, and he's open a lot. Like, there are a lot of guys on this team that are just open. It's an embarrassment of riches when someone says to me the Eagles are the best wide receiver corps in the NFL, and you can't argue with me on this. I said, I'm not going to. Honestly, the 3 best teams have probably the 3 best receiving corps in the NFL. The Chiefs, the Bills, and the Eagles. Like, the Bills throw the ball a lot more than the Eagles do, and so do the Chiefs. And that's why you're seeing, like, these skewed numbers. And Devonta Smith's getting his. It's just, outside of Washington, he just hasn't had that Devonta Smith game, but it's coming.
Yeah, you mentioned Zach Pascal, and 2 things on this. One, I want to correct something I said on the pregame show, which was Jason Kelce had a conversation with Zach Pascal where Zach Pascal sought him out for advice. It wasn't Jason Kelce. It's even more strange than that. And this is about on the practice field they were talking. Zach Pascal sought out Brandon Graham, not Jason Kelce. I misheard what Nick Sirianni said going into this game in his latest press conference. Zach Pascal was seeking out a defensive end for help on the football field. At first, I was like, what the hell? First, I thought he said Jason Kelce. It wasn't. It was Graham. And then I see Zach Pascal, if you remember, a little I think it was a run by Miles Sanders where he went to the outside. Zach Pascal goes up there and throws a great block on their edge rusher. And I thought, that's probably what he was talking about. He was probably, as a smaller wide receiver, was probably talking to Brandon Graham about how he can get an advantage on an edge rusher like Brandon Graham, for instance, to make that block to spring a running back free. And I saw that, and it's the first thing I thought about. And it's another thing that goes to the selflessness of this wide receiving core, where if they're not going to be making plays for you by catching the football, getting the yards, and getting the glory of being in the touchdown or being in the end zone, scoring a touchdown with their hands up in the air, they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that their team keeps moving the ball downfield to make sure they get those points. It's a selfless team. And that's how I think this team is going to continue this undefeated record until they maybe face the Titans, until maybe they face the Giants, until maybe they face those more established teams in the NFL this season.
Horsey, before I let you go, obviously tonight was, I guess we can call it bittersweet because the Eagles are 8-0, but I think the team we really wanted to win last night was the Phillies, and I'm still a little disappointed. I think the series is over. I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope they shock the world, but I don't know what's your thoughts before I let you go here.
My thoughts are, if I'm betting on the game, I'm betting that the Astros unfortunately win in 6 games tomorrow night. They wrap it up with Valdez going up against Wheeler. It's crazy to me to think that Nola and Wheeler have not contributed to this team winning. I mean, it's just bonkers to me that you go into the World Series. You needed them not even to pitch their best games ever, but give us the 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 innings, 2 runs. Give us those types of performances. Not even like 7 scoreless. It'd be nice, but it didn't happen. But the fact that they're in the 6th game is pretty incredible. Last night, I know he had 2 hits, but Alec Boehm's at bat in the 8th inning. I have no idea what the hell he was doing at that at bat. Not a pitch was in the strike zone, and he swung at all but one of them. It could have been a bases loaded 1 out or bases loaded no out situation, and instead they settled for the 1 run on Gene Segura's RBI single, and then Trey Mancini's catch with that 1 hopper hitting his right. He looked terrified, by the way. If that ball got by him, Houston fans who hated the trade up until that point would have just railed on the guy. But Kyle Schwarber almost gets a clutch hit in the 3rd inning of the night before during the no-hitter that would have changed things throughout that game. And then he gets the bullet 1 hopper down to Trey Mancini that would have at least been the game-tying run. And it goes right in Mancini's mitt. JT Realmuto hits it. Of course, it's one of our own, Westchester's own, Chad McCormick, who comes up with the huge catch on JT Realmuto. But if I had to say, I think the Phillies, I'm going to keep rooting for them. I'm going to watch. I'm going to be hanging on every pitch. But I don't think it's going to bounce their way.
I said this is what sucked about last night. As someone who's covered Chaz McCormick back when he was in high school, who's followed his career the entire time, like, nice guy, family, nice people in the world, diehard Phillies fans, by the way. That made me sick. I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys. Like, come on. I know that's why you're playing. That's why you're a Major League Baseball player. You had to do this. And Trey Mancini's another one. Loved him in Baltimore. Was one of my favorite players there. The biggest defensive liability on the planet. And when he made that play, I'm like, you gotta be kidding. Like,
right in his mitt.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it honestly sucks, but it is what it is. They should have been here. Again, is where I gotta make my point on them. I know everybody wants to talk about the bats going cold the last 2 games, but you nailed it. You nailed it right on the head, Farzy. The fact that Aaron Nola gave you nothing and Zach Wheeler all of a sudden is tired, that's the storyline of this World Series. These guys, I don't know what the deal is. I'd love to find out. It's an innings-related thing. I'm sure they're beat. JT Realmuto looks tired too, by the way, but that's the storyline of this World Series. You needed those two to show up to beat them, and they didn't show up. Bottom line.
First off, last night I had 2 TVs going, as I'm sure most of the Delaware Valley did. Hoskins, Realmuto, Castellanos 0 for 14. 0 for 14 combined last night. Over the last 2 games, 0 for 25. So, yeah, that also is not going to get it done. But as far as Wheeler and Nola go, remember 2008 Cole Hamels, how great he was?
Yep.
Remember 2009 Cole Hamels, how bad he was? He hit the wall in 2009, and it feels like that Cole Hamels syndrome of 2009 hit the Phillies a year earlier than it should have by about 3 games, unfortunately. If they just would have pushed it back a little further, maybe you're talking about these guys dealing in the postseason, especially in the World Series, and it just hasn't happened. They hit that wall. Unfortunately. So they work in a way. If you would have told me going into the series, Wheeler and Nola were going to pitch like this, I'd be like, no way they're even in it. And it's like, well, they've won 2 games. It's like, how? How did they win 2 games? And they mashed. That's how they did it.
Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto. In their 3 losses, they are combined 1 for 33. That's all you need to know. That's all I need to know. I hate to say it. I love this team. I think they're going to be a lot better next year because they're going to make the additions. But John Middleton's not going to just capitalize on merchandise sales here. But I think they run out of gas, Farzy. I hate to let you go on that bad of a note.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, hopefully they give us a Game 7 at least, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's all I want. I just want 2 more games of baseball. That's all I'm going to ask for. Whatever happens, happens. All right, Farzy. Thanks for coming on, my friend. Always great talking Eagles with you. I'll have to get you back on soon.
Sounds good, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's it.